isang mag-anak sa Melbourne inararo ng pulang SUV.
Nako, ligtas kaya ang buong mag-anak sa insidente? Silipin po natin ang mga pangyayari mula sa mga detalye ng balitang ibabahagi maya-maya. Magandang gabi. Ako po si Rikki Mathay.
Ako si Rikki Alagao Flores. Ito ang Mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga headlines ngayong araw ng Miyerkules.
Mary Jane Veloso nakabalik na sa Pilipinas.
Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. may i-veto sa proposed 2025 national budget bago pirmahan.
President Xi Jinping bumisita sa Macau para gunitain ang 25 taong China rule.
Bilang ng mga nasawi sa Vanuatu earthquake umakyat na sa 14 katao.
At fight dyan sa TikTok humirit sa US Supreme Court para maiwasan na maban sa Estados Unidos. Nakabalik na po sa Pilipinas si Pinoy death row convict Mary Jane Veloso matapos ang ilang taong pagkakakulong sa Indonesia dahil sa drug trafficking.
At kaninang umaga sa Correctional Institution for Women sa Mandaluyong City ay muling nakasama ni Veloso ang kanyang pamilya at mga kaanak. Ayon sa Bureau of Corrections, isa sa ilalim muna si Veloso sa 5 araw na quarantine bilang bahagi ng protocol ng Bucor sa mga newly committed persons deprived of liberty o PDL. Pero kahit matapos ang quarantine ay mananatili pa rin ang Pinay sa correctional facility ng 50 araw base na rin sa guidelines ng ahensya. Samantala, tinawag naman ng Department of Foreign Affairs o DFA na isang win for diplomacy and good relations sa pagitan ng Pilipinas at Indonesia at repatriation ni Veloso pabalik sa bansa. Pinasalamatan naman ni DFA Undersecretary for Migration Eduardo Jose de Vega ang Indonesian government at nangakong susunod ang Pilipinas sa pinirmahang practical arrangement sa kaso ni Veloso. Tinukoy naman ng Justice Department na ang pagbabalik Pinas ni Veloso ay magbubukas ng daan para makapaghain ng kaso laban sa mga umanay recruiters ng Pinay. Ayon naman sa Coordinating Ministry for Legal, Human Rights, Immigration and Correction sa Indonesia, sa oras na makabalik na sa Pilipinas si Veloso ay ang desisyon kung bibigyan ng clemency ang Pinay ay nasa kamay na ng Pangulo ng Estado.
Inanunsyo ng Malacanang na hindi matutuloy ang pagpirma ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. sa proposed 6.352 trillion pesos 2025 national budget sa Biyernes dahil rerepasuhin pa ito ng Pangulo. Kasunod ito ng pag-uusad sa isyu hinggil sa tinapyas na budget sa pondo ng Department of Education at ng PhilHealth. Ayon kay Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin, may i-veto ang Pangulo sa ilang mga bagay at probisyon sa National Budget Bill sa interes na rin ng public welfare at para makasunod sa fiscal program ng gobyerno alinsunod sa batas ng bansa. Hindi naman nagbigay ang Malacanang ng potensyal na petsa ng paglagda ng Pangulong Marcos sa General Appropriations Act ng susunod na taon. Matatandaang kamakailan lamang ay dinipensahan ng Pangulo ang malaking dagdag sa proposed budget ng Department of Public Works and Highways. Anya, kailangan ng gobyerno na paggastusan ang mga infrastructure projects para sa kaligtasan ng sambayan ng Pilipino. Lumago ang proposed DPWH budget sa 1.113 trillion pesos mula sa inisyal na 900 billion pesos pagkatapos ng Bicameral Conference Committee meeting. Samantala, hinigpitan ang seguridad sa Senado matapos itong makatanggap ng bomb threats sa kanilang social media account. Sa isang Viber message ni Senate President Francis Cheese Escudero sa media, bagamat hindi nila itinuring na credible at seryosong banta ang natanggap na bomb threat, ginawa na ng Office of the Sergeant at Arms ang mga kinakailangang pag-iingat. Nagpatuloy pa rin ang trabaho sa Senado sa kabila ng nasabing bomb threat.
Hindi sisirit ang presyo ng mga tinapay ngayong holiday season. Ito ang abiso ni Asosasyon ng Panaderong Pilipino President Lucito Chavez. Anya, kanilang binabantayan ang mga presyo ng mga tinapay para hindi mang-abuso ang ilang bakers. Sa kabila nito ay umaasa sila na sa mga susunod na panahon ay maaaprubahan na ang kanilang hirit na taas presyo na kanilang isinumite na sa Department of Trade and Industry.
Humina naman po at naging low pressure area na lamang ang bagyong Kerubin. Ayon po yan sa monitoring ng Pag-asa. Ayon sa State Weather Bureau, namataan ang LPA sa layong 275 kilometers east of Surigao City bandang alas 4 ng hapon. Kahit mahina na ito, patuloy pa rin itong gumagalaw sa direksyong pahilaga sa bilis sa 20 kilometers per hour. At sa kabila naman ito ay patuloy na magdadala ng mabibigat na pag-ulan ang shear line at LPA. Inaasahan naman ng Pag-asa na daraan tatahakin ng LPA ang daang patungong Sulusi at Palawan. Susunod, Chinese President Xi Jinping nagtungo sa Macau.
Estados Unidos itinangging may involvement sa pagkasawi ng opisyal ng Russia.
At masandang sumang-ayon sa isang ceasefire. Mga detalye na ang mga balita niyan at iba pa sa pagbabalik na Mata ng Agila International.
The rapid growth of e-commerce has significantly reshaped the global economic landscape. It's fascinating to observe how this digital revolution has disrupted traditional retail models and opened up new avenues for businesses and consumers alike.
And the Philippines was found to be the fastest growing internet economy in Southeast Asia.
Doon po napatunayan na bigyan mo lang ng tools, knowledge, bigyan mo ng internet ang mga Pilipino, they will find a way to actually maximize it.
Online Business, an Open for Business with Cesar Vallejos. Sunday, 9 p.m.
Sa Net25.
Milyong pasasalamat sa inyo mga ka-Net25 dahil umabot ng 1 milyon ang mga subscriber ng Net25 YouTube channel. Let's subscribe together here on Net25.
Nagpahayag si Taipei Mayor Chiang Wan-an sa mga bumibisitang opisyal ng China na umaasa itong bababa ang tensyon sa pagitan ng dalawang bansa.
我是民选的台北市市长，必须对海峡两岸的和平与否、紧张与否、发展与否，提出我恳切的期待。我认为要多一点对话，少一点对峙；多一点和平的橄榄枝，少一点冲突的酸葡萄；多一点渔船灯火的点缀夕阳。 少一点船舰飞机的喧嚣呼啸。
各位长
Sa kanyang talumpati sa taunang Taipei Shanghai City Forum kasama si Shanghai Vice Mayor Hua Yan ay sinabi ni Taipei Mayor Chiang Wan-an na umaasa siyang magiging mapayapa na ang relasyon ng Taiwan at China at umapela ito na sana mabawasan ang bilang ng mga barko at aircraft na nakadeploy sa Taiwan Strait. Bilang tugon naman ay sinabi ni Vice Mayor Hua na umaasa siyang mas malapit na makikipag-ugnayan ng Taipei sa kanilang bansa. Dagdag pa nito na magsisimula na ulit ang pagpapadala ng grupo ng mga turista parating ng Taiwan upang buhayin ang ekonomiya ng naturang bansa. Simula kasi ng panahon ng pandemya ay pinagbawalan ng mainland China ang kanilang mga mamamayan na magtungo sa Taiwan bilang pagbabatikos na ginawa ng gobyerno ng Taiwan ukol sa naging COVID response ng Beijing. Ang naturang okasyon na simula noong 2010 ang isa sa pinakaimportanteng dialogo sa pagitan ng opisyal ng China at Taiwan simula nung itinigil na ng Beijing ang kanilang formal na pakikipag-usap sa Taipei pagkatapos maihalal si Tsai Ing-wen bilang presidente noong taong 2016.
两岸同胞啊，从来都是一家人，我们常来常往，越走越近，越走越亲。
Tinitignan ng Vietnam na ipamalas ang kanilang sariling gawang armas sa International Arms Fair na gagawin sa Hanoi sa mga susunod na araw. Tinitingnan ng Vietnam itong oportunidad para palakasin ang kanilang lokal na industriya at posible makakuha ng iba't ibang military equipment export contracts upang mapalakas ang kanilang estado sa international community. Kabilang sa 250 makikilahok sa naturang International Arms Fair ang mga top defense companies mula sa Estados Unidos, Europa, Turkey, Israel, Iran, China, Russia at Ukraine. Sa ngayon po, ang Vietnam ang isa sa pinakamalalaking importers ng armas at karamihan sa mga ini-import nito ay nanggagaling sa Russia. Sa mga nakaraang taon ay naglayo ng Vietnam na palakasin ang kanilang defense capability dahil madalas nitong makaengkwentro ang China ukol sa mga boundaries nito sa South China Sea.
Dumating sa Macau si Chinese President Xi Jinping upang ipagdiwang ang ika-25 taon ng pamumuno ng Beijing sa Macau. Ang dating teritoryo ng Portugal ay napasa ilalim sa Beijing upang maiahon ng bansa ang lokal na ekonomiya ng teritoryo. Itinaon din ng CCP ang pagbisita ni Xi upang makadalawang presidente sa inaugurasyon ng panibagong chief executive ng Macau na naihalal noong Oktubre. Ang huling beses na bumisita si Xi sa Macau ay noong taong 2019 sa kasagsagan ng pagprotesta ng mga mamamayan ng Hong Kong laban sa pro-China na gobyerno nito. Palaging pinupuri ng Beijing ang Special Administrative Region ng Macau dahil sa kanilang katapatan at katatagan sa China. Sa ngayon ay lampas kalahati sa 700,000 na kabuoang populasyon ng Macau ay nanggaling sa mainland China.
澳门是祖国的掌上明珠，我一直惦念着这里的发展和全体居民的福祉。我相信，只要充分发挥一国两制的制度优势，敢于拼搏，勇于创新，澳门一定能够创造 更加美好的明天。
As long as China and the United States cooperate, many great things can be achieved. Yan po ang naging pahayag ni Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi ilang linggo bago ang inaugurasyon ni US President-elect Donald Trump sa Washington. Binanggit na opisyal na nagkaroon ng 2 strategic dialogue at 5 pagpupulong ang Financial Working Group ng China at ng Estados Unidos. Pinangunahan din anya ng Beijing at ng Washington ang isang cross-border drug control operation. Nagkaisa rin ang 2 bansa para sa mga hakbang ukol sa climate change at mga resolusyon ukol naman sa artificial intelligence. Subalit, muling binalaan ni Wang ang Estados Unidos sa pangingialam nito sa Taiwan. Ipagtatanggol niya ng China ang lehitimong karapatan at interes nito sa Taiwan.
这些进展受到两国各界和国际社会的广泛欢迎，充分证明，只要中美合作，就可以办成许多 大事好事。同时，中方坚定维护自身的主权、安全、发展利益，坚决反对美方对中国实施的非法无理打压，尤其是对美方在台湾等问题上粗暴干涉中国内政的行径，必须做出坚定有力的回应，坚决捍卫自身正当权益，维护国际关系基本准则。中国对美政策保持着稳定性和连续性，体现了大国的战略定力和宽广胸怀。我们愿意同美方保持对话，管控分歧，增信事宜，拓展合作，共同探寻两个大国在这个星球上的正确相处之道，造福两国，也惠及世界。
Nilinaw ng Estados Unidos na hindi ito sangkot sa pagpatay sa Russian general sa ikinasang operasyon ng Ukraine.
Yeah, the killing, the appears to be an assassination of the chemical weapons chief, General Kirillov. Want to see if, first of all, the Kremlin is saying that Ukrainian allies are to blame for this. Do you have a response specifically to that, or more broadly to his killing?
I don't have any assessment on that. That explosion. I can tell you that the United States was not aware of it in advance and was not involved.
Ayon kay U.S. State Department spokesman Matthew Miller, walang alam dito ang Amerika at hindi ito sangkot sa pagpatay kay Igor Kirillov, ang head ng Russian Army's Chemical Weapons Division. Subalit muling binigyan diin ni Miller ang nauna ng assessment ng Amerika na si Kirillov na na-assassinate simula pa ng salakayin ng Russian forces ang Ukraine ay ipinag-utos ang paggamit ng riot control agent sa giyera na paglabagaan niya sa Chemical Weapons Convention. Sinabi rin ni Miller na ang naturang Russian general ay sangkot sa ng atrocities. Sangkot din ito sa paggamit ng chemical weapons laban sa Ukrainian military. Ginawa ng U.S. official ang paglilinaw matapos akusahan ni Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova ang Western allies ng Ukraine na kasabwat umano sa asasinasyon sa Moscow.
Do you have any view on his killing, and was he a legitimate target, regardless whether the U.S. was involved?
I don't have an assessment. It's not something that we were involved in. Obviously, he was a general who was involved in a number of atrocities. He was involved in the use of chemical weapons against Ukrainian military. It's something the United States has publicly assessed before, that the Russian military under his in a unit under his command has used riot agents in violation.
Ito na nga ba ang discovery of the century? Aba, bakit po? Kasi nakapag-develop daw ang Russia ng isang therapeutic mRNA vaccine para sa sakit na cancer at ipamimigay nila ang bakunang ito ng libre sa mga pasyente. Pagmamalakay ni Alexander Ginsberg, direktor ng Gamaleya National Research Center for Epidemiology and Microbiology ng Russia, magandang resulta ng preclinical trials ng cancer vaccine na kanilang naimbento. Anya, sinusuppress ang vaccine ang pag-develop ng cancer na maging ang potensyal na metastasis ng sakit na ito. Subalit, paliwanag din ni Ginsberg, hindi universal cancer vaccine ang kanilang naimbento, kundi ito ay isang personalized cancer vaccine na ang tinatarget ay isang uri ng cancer o para lamang sa isang tiyak na individual. Ang personalized cancer vaccine ito ay ilalabas ng Moscow sa unang bahagi ng taong 2025.
This is not a universal vaccine. On the contrary, it is a personalized vaccine, not only for each type of cancer, but also for each respective cancer patient. Yes, and it's a therapeutic vaccine. It does not protect, as against infectious diseases. It treats individually those patients who suffer from oncological diseases. This drug, this vaccine, figuratively speaking, is a little vulgar, but it directs the immune system of a patient against malignant cells due to the fact that this vaccine carries in its composition those changes that are characteristic at the genetic level for a tumor. As a result, our patient's immune system recognizes, individually, both those cells into which the vaccine has entered and cancer cells, and it begins to destroy them with the help of special cells that are present in our immune system, cytotoxic lymphocytes, which literally devour those cells that carry tumor markers. This, accordingly, is the meaning of this vaccine. Now at the Gamaleya Institute, we are working with colleagues from our two leading cancer centers, the Herzen Center under the leadership of Professor Capron and the Blochen Center under the leadership of academician Stilidi, and with our young colleagues from the Sirius Center. A system has been created that allows us to genetically deliver the necessary genetic sequences to our eukaryotic cells. These methods and technologies are completely covered by domestic patents, which makes it possible to use them widely and completely openly to create medicines. And the first speech is about prototypes of vaccine drugs created against melanoma. This is the most malignant and severe oncological disease, and the mouse melanoma model shows that 3 vaccine variants created using this technology protect these animals from death.
Binatikos ni U.S. President-elect Donald Trump ang desisyon ni current U.S. President Joe Biden na payagan ang Ukraine na gumamit ng U.S. missiles para tamaan ang ibang target sa loob ng teritoryo ng Russia.
I think we're going to be in a good place in the Middle East. I think the Middle East will be in a good place. I think actually more difficult is going to be the Russia-Ukraine situation. I see that as more difficult. I don't think they should have allowed missiles to be shot 200 miles into Russia. I think that was a bad thing. And that brought the Koreans in, North Korea, another man I get along with very well. I'm the only one that does. But that did a lot of bad things. I don't think that should have been allowed. Not when there's a possibility, and certainly not just weeks before I take over. Why would they do that without asking me what I thought? I wouldn't have had them do that. I think that was a big mistake they made.
Will you reverse that decision when you're in office? To let those
I might, yeah.
missiles be
I thought it was a very stupid thing to do.
Sa kanyang talumpati ay sinabi ni Trump na kakausapin niya si Russian President Vladimir Putin at Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky ukol sa pagtatapos ng lampas 3 taong digmaang nagaganap sa kanilang rehiyon. Tumanggi naman itong magkomento kung kukumbinsihin niya si Zelensky na isuko ang ibang teritoryo ng Ukraine papunta sa Russia bilang parte ng negotiated settlement sa gitna ng dalawang bansa.
Do you believe that Ukraine should cede territory to Russia?
Well, I'm going to let you know that after I have my first meeting. But a lot of that territory, when you look at what's happened to those, I mean, there are cities that there's not a building standing. It's a demolition site. There's not a building standing. So people can't go back to those cities. There's nothing there. It's just rubble. Just like when I knocked down a building in Manhattan, which is actually, this is worse, actually, because we do it step by step. This thing has just got demolished. And by the way, in those buildings are many people. Many people were in those buildings. You know, when they say the number in Ukraine is going to be a much higher number of death, is going to be a much higher number than you're hearing.
Dagdag pa nito na karamihan sa teritoryong pinag-aagawan ng dalawang bansa ay tuluyan ng nawasak at kahit sinong bansa ang makakuha nito ay mahihirapan itong i-rehabilitate.
What should Zelensky, if anything, be prepared to give up to end this war?
He should be prepared to make a deal. That's all. Got to be a deal. No, got to be a deal. Too many people being killed. That is a war that's hard. Too many people. Got to make a deal. And Putin has to make a deal too.
What deal would you think?
Putin has to make a deal, and Putin would have never gone in if I was president.
Matapos naman tumanggap ng no-confidence vote si German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, naghahanda na ngayon ang gobyerno ng Germany sa isang snap election na gaganapin sa darating na February 23. Ayon sa ilang political analysts, inaasahan ito ni Scholz at mas gusto umano niya na bumaba na ngayon sa pwesto at ipanalo na ang susunod na eleksyon. Target umano ni Scholz na ibalik ang kumpiyansa ng publiko sa kanyang pamamahala.
Es ist das 6. Mal in der Geschichte der Bundesrepublik, dass ein Bundeskanzler den Antrag nach Artikel 68 des Grundgesetzes stellt. 2-mal wollten sich Vorgänger von mir dadurch den Rückhalt ihrer Regierungskoalition sichern. In den anderen 3 Fällen nutzten Willy Brandt, Helmut Kohl und Gerhard Schröder den Artikel 68, um Neuwahlen zu ermöglichen. Die Bundestagswahl vorzuziehen, das ist auch mein Ziel. Bei dieser Wahl können dann die Bürgerinnen und Bürger den politischen Kurs unseres Landes vorgeben. Darum geht es. Die Vertrauensfrage richte ich deshalb heute an die Wählerinnen und Wähler.
Samantala, kanya-kanya ang pagpresenta ng plataporma ng mga pangunahing political parties ng Germany. Matatanda ang naging malaking issue sa German Parliament ang pagtataas ng buwis at pagsuspinde ng debt break na isa sa mga naging dahilan ng no-confidence vote kay Scholz. Kaya nais naman ni Friedrich Merz, leader ng mga conservatives, na pagtuunan ng pansin ang ekonomiya ng bansa at hindi ang mga polisiya para sa mga bagong utang. Nangako naman si Green Chancellor candidate and Economy Minister Robert Habeck na aayusin ito ang infrastruktura ng Germany kagaya ng mga kalsada, tulay, rilis ng tren at mga eskwelahan. Hindi naman nalalayo ang mga proyektong inilatag ni Scholz kina Merz at Habeck dahil nais niyang palaguin din ang ekonomiya ng Germany.
Ich werde die Wirtschaftspolitik in unserem Land nicht auf neue Schulden, hohe Steuern und viel Umverteilung setzen, sondern ich werde die Wirtschaftspolitik unseres Landes auf Leistungsbereitschaft und Wettbewerbsfähigkeit setzen. Wir wollen nicht den vorhandenen kleinen Kuchen besser verteilen, sondern wir wollen gemeinsam einen größeren Kuchen für alle herstellen.
Deutschland muss sich noch einmal neu erfinden. Die Stabilität der deutschen Demokratie beruht auf der sozialen Marktwirtschaft. Soziale Marktwirtschaft wiederum beruht auf einer wettbewerbsfähigen Wirtschaft. Und die Voraussetzungen dieser Wettbewerbsfähigkeit sind in den letzten Jahren arg unter die Räder geraten.
Dazu haben wir Vorschläge gemacht. Ein paar will ich hier herausgreifen, zum Beispiel den Made in Germany Bonus, die Innovationsprämie, die wir vorschlagen, um Unternehmen dabei zu unterstützen, Ausrüstungsinvestitionen jetzt zu tätigen hier in Deutschland. Das ist das, was andere Länder machen, zum Beispiel die USA mit dem Inflation Reduction Act und den Dingen, die darin geregelt sind. Und das brauchen wir auch dringend für Deutschland, um jetzt wirtschaftliches Wachstum hervorzurufen.
Inextend ang tigil putukan sa pagitan ng Turkiye at Kurdish-Syrian forces hanggang sa katapusan ng linggo. Alamin natin ang mga detalye mula kay Michelle Verzonilla.
Noong Martes, in-extend hanggang sa katapusan ng linggong ito ang ceasefire sa pagitan ng Turkey at ng US-backed Kurdish-Syrian Forces o SDF sa hilagang lungsod ng Syria na Manbij. Ayon kay State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller, naglatag ng paunang tigil putukan ng Washington noong nakaraang linggo, subalit ito ay pasuna. Ani Miller, nais ng Washington na extend ang ceasefire sa mas mahabang panahon hanggang kailangan.
As you know, we worked out a ceasefire for the area around Manbij. That ceasefire has been holding. It had expired. It has been extended into the end of this week, and we continue to engage with the SDF, with Turkey, about a path forward. As we have said publicly, we do not believe it is in the interest of any party to see increased conflict in Syria. We don't want to see any party take advantage of the current unstable situation to advance their own narrow interests at the expense of the broadened Syrian national interest. And those are conversations we're continuing to have with our Turkish allies.
Michelle Verzonilla, para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected on point.
Handang-handa nang tumugon sa anumang oras ang Hamas sa isinusulong na ceasefire deal. Subalit ayon sa Hamas, ang nagiging problema ngayon kaya tumatagal umano ang pag-aproba ng nasabing kasunduan ay ang Israel. Giit nila nga matagal na sanang naaprubahan ang peace deal kung hindi sana marami mga hiniling na pagbabago ang Israel. Itinuturing nila na ang naging ceasefire talks sa ginanap sa Doha noong nakaraang mga araw ay makabuluhan at mayroong magandang resulta. Umaasa naman ang mga sibilyan sa Gaza na ito na ang magiging huling pag-uusap patungo sa tuluyang pagwawakas ng giyera sa kanilang teritoryo. Ilang okasyon na ring nanganib ang buhay ng mga Palestinians dahil sa mga nangyayaring pagkukulang ng tubig, pagkain at iba pang essentials na pangangailangan ng mga tao sa loob ng Gaza.
والله هي الناس مبسوطة يعني على هوا الخبر تاع وقف إطلاق النار والله وزهقنا من الحرب وتعبنا خلص بدنا هدنة وبدنا سلام ويعملوا لنا وقف إطلاق نار كامل إن شاء الله ويوقفوا لنا الحرب حتى نقدر نعيش بسلام ونقدر يفتحوا لنا المعبر يدخلوا لنا أكل ويدخلوا لنا كل حاجة يرخصوا لنا الطحين ويرخصوا لنا البامبز وحريب الأطفال يرخصوا لنا كل حاجة.
Ayon naman kay U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, dapat na maipasa ang naturang kasunduan sa lalong madaling panahon upang maiabot na ng international community ang tulong para sa mga Palestino. Dagdag pa niyang importante ang timing at response ng Estados Unidos ukol sa issue dahil susi ito sa posibleng radikalisasyon ng mga tao laban sa West.
How do you convert that into a long-term strategic endgame where Israel is secure on a durable basis and where Gaza emerges where Hamas is not in power? And the best way to do that, in judgment, is to have a political solution, a political track alongside the military track, and that starts with the basic concept of essentially trying to make sure that the ordinary civilians of Gaza, the innocent people of Gaza, are not being put in a position where things are so bad that they all become radicalized and you have nothing to work with going forward. It means that every single day, I personally am getting a report on the humanitarian situation. I'm getting a list of the things that we need to ask of Israel to try to alleviate it, and working that day in, day out, and never being satisfied, because at the end of the day, in a war zone like this, you always want to be pushing for more.
Sinabi ng Estados Unidos na walang organisasyon ng Washington sa Syria na naghahanap sa kinaroroonan ni Austin Tice, ang American journalist na kinidnap noon pang taong 2012. Alamin natin ang mga detalye mula kay Anjo Milano.
Kinumpirma ng US State Department na walang US government organization on the ground ang kasalukuyan naghahanap kay American journalist Austin Tice. Si Tice ay kinidnap noong Agosto 2012 nang magtungo ito sa Syria para magtrabaho. Ayon kay State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller, patuloy na sinusubukan ng US na hanapin si Tice. Subalit wala itong ibinigay na impormasyon ukol sa kalagayan ni Tice.
No U.S. government organization has been on the ground in Syria as of yet. We have been in communication with groups on the ground in Syria, and that includes not just the HTS, but other groups in Syria, including the White Helmets, of course, who do a lot of important work on locating detainees, and other civil society groups about the search for Austin Tice. We feel that right now we are able to get good information. I can tell you that over the past week, there have been a number of times, and I think a lot of you know about this because I get questions from you about it sometimes. There have been leads that we have seen that we thought might lead to Austin Tice being located, and we have pursued those. None of those leads have turned out as of yet. I know at times you guys have found leads and reported on the possible location of Austin. So we are getting information about what's happening inside Syria, and we are able to pursue those leads now and able to run them down. And as it pertains to when someone from the State Department might actually be on the ground in Syria, I don't have anything to announce today, but of course, stay tuned.
Anjo Milano para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Nagkasundo na po ang ABC News at ang kampo ni Donald Trump na magbabayad ang major network na nasa $15 million para sa Trump Presidential Library para sa isang dispute settlement. Nagsimula ang defamation lawsuit dahil sa mga komentong ginawa ng isang news anchor na si George Stephanopoulos on air tungkol sa civil case ng journalist na si Eugene Carroll laban sa current president-elect. Nakasaad sa lawsuit na ang mga naturang pahayag ng anchor ay ginawa na may intensyong sirain ang reputasyon ni Trump at nagpakita ng umano'y blatant disregard for the truth. Bilang ehemplo sa discovery phase ng naturang dokumento ay inilarawan ng team ni Trump ang pangyayari ng makapanayam ni Stephanopoulos si Republican Nancy Mace na nagkwento naman na maselang pangyayari sa kanyang buhay kung kailan siya ay hinalay umano noong siya ay menor de edad. Nagkomento naman si George na kung ganito ang naging pangyayari sa kanyang personal na buhay, ay paano niya nasikmurang suportahan si Donald Trump bilang kandidato. Noong nakaraang taon ay naipanalo ni Carroll ang kanyang kaso laban kay Trump, subalit sa isang split jury manner. Ibig pong sabihin nito, hindi kumbinsido ang buong hurado na hinalay talaga ni Trump ang journalist, subalit sinabi nilang responsible daw ito sa mas mababang degree ng sexual assault.
Susunod, Disney magbabayad ng malaking halaga para sa stolen wages labor lawsuit.
Google inilabas ang pantapat sa Sora AI.
At bagong Superman poster inilabas na ng DC Comics. Iba pa pong mga balita sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
At makibalita sa mga pangyayari at kaganapan sa loob at labas ng bansa.
Dito sa Mata ng Agila sa tanghali, Lunes hanggang Biyernes.
Alas 12 ng tanghali, dito lang sa Net 25.
At sabayang mapapakinggan sa Radyo Agila DZEZ 1062. Matatag!
Matapang!
Matapat!
Let's get together sa Net 25. Sa Net 25.
Ang mga maiinit na balita at rumaratsyad ng usapan ng bayan, ihahatid namin sa 100%!
100% ang pagbabalita!
100% talakayan!
Lunes hanggang Biyernes!
Alas 5 hanggang alas 7 ng umaga!
Live na live sa Radyo Agila 1062 Mega Manila!
At sa Net 25! 100%!
Sa Net 25. Let's get together. Sa Net 25.
Nagbabalik po ang Mata ng Agila International at sa pagpapatuloy ng ating mga balita ngayong gabi. Nakaligtas sa bingit ng kamatayan ang isang mag-anak sa Melbourne matapos sumalpok ang isang humaharurot na pulang SUV sa kanilang sasakyan. Kita po sa video na naghahanda ang pamilya para umalis sa kanilang bahay. Mapapansin ding bago sumalpok ang pulang SUV ay nakasakay na sa kotse ang tatay at ang anak na babae nito. Ilang sandali na ay sumulpot na ang pulang kotse at binangga ang nakaparadang sasakyan. Dahil dito, tumalsik ang nanay na kinilala na si Hailey Ball Ferguson. Nagtamo ng ilang sugat ang mga bata at kaagad na nila ito sa pagamutan para sa medikal na atensyon. Hindi naman nasaktan ang mag-asawa sa nasabing insidente. Ayon sa investigasyon ng pulisya, inatake ng sakit ang driver ng pulang SUV kaya hindi na nakontrol nito ang sasakyan. At yun na nga po, sumalpok na sa kotse ng mag-anak.
Gumawa ng malaking kalat sa daan ang karambola ng hindi bababa sa 40 sasakyan sa Lake Pontchartrain Causeway sa Louisiana. Ayon Ayon kay Causeway General Manager Carlton Defrechu, nagsimula ang karambola matapos na balot ang daan ng makapal na fog bandang 8:30 ng umaga. Pansamantalang isinara ang 24-mile stretch ng daan para sa clearing operation. Batay sa inisyal na bilang ng otoridad, hindi bababa sa 30 ang sugatan habang nasa 9 naman ang naitalang magkahiwalay na salpukan sa Causeway. Wala namang lumampas sa riles ng daan at nahulog sa tubig.
Sa Canada, naglunsad ang pamahalaan ng mga hakbang upang labanan ang gun violence sa bansa. Alamin po natin ang mga detalye ng balita mula kay Cherry Recolizado.
Kasama sa layuning mapigilan ang karahasan, gamit ang baril sa bansa, ipinagbawal na ng Canada ang 324 na karagdagang assault-style firearms. Inanunsyo ni Federal Minister Public Safety Dominic LeBlanc noong Huwebes ang mas pinahigpit na seguridad sa Canadian borders laban sa pagpupuslit ng mga baril, batas ukol sa paggamit ng baril at suporta para sa mga programa laban sa karahasan gamit ang baril at gang violence. Kasama sa inanunsyo ang plano na ibigay o i-donate ang ipinagbabawal na mga baril sa Ukraine bilang suporta sa kanilang pamahalaan. Mula noong Mayo 2020, ipinagbawal ng gobyerno ng Canada ang 1,500 na modelo ng assault style na mga baril matapos ang isang mass shooting sa Portapique, Nova Scotia. Mayroon na ngayong mahigit sa 2,000 na ipinagbabawal na baril sa Canada simula noong Nobyembre 2024. Ayon sa Toronto Police, mayroong 435 na insidente ng karahasan gamit ang baril sa Toronto kung saan 111 ang sugatan at 41 ang nasawi. Cherry Recolizado, Toronto, Ontario, para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Pumalo na sa 14 katao ang nasawi mula sa malakas na magnitude 7.3 na lindol na tumama sa Vanuatu. Patuloy ang paghahanap ng mga rescuers sa mga posibleng survivors ng nakatatakot na pagyanig ng lupa sa Pacific Island nation. Ayon sa Asia-Pacific head of the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, Katie Greenwood, umabot na sa higit 2 katao ang nasaktan at patuloy na ginagamot sa main hospital sa Port Vila. Saad naman ng United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs ay humigit kumulang 335,000 na katao ang apektado ng pagtama ng lindol. Nakaapekto rin nila ang putol na linya ng mga telecommunications towers sa real-time field reports na natatanggap ng United Nations. Higit sa mga gumuhang residential buildings sa Vanuatu ay napinsala rin ng mga complex housing ng diplomatic missions ng Britain, France, New Zealand at Estados Unidos. Sa kasalukuyan ay kinansela na ang itinaas na tsunami warnings ng National Weather Service sa isla pero naka-alerto pa rin ang mga otoridad sa minor sea level fluctuations sa ilang coastal areas kung saan tumama ang lindol.
Wala pa ring malinaw na motibo ang 15-year-old na babaeng suspect sa naganap na pamamaril sa isang private school sa Wisconsin, USA. Bernard Gonzaga po para sa detalye ng balita.
Noong Martes, isang araw matapos ang isa na namang school shooting dito sa bansa, sinabi ng Wisconsin local officials na hindi pa rin nila natutunton ang motibo ng suspect sa ginawang pamamaril sa kanyang pribadong Christian school. Pinaslang nito ang kaeskwela at isang teacher bago nagpakamatay.
Identifying a motive is our top priority. But at this time, it appears that the motive was a combination of factors. Again, we cannot share that information at this time because we do not want to jeopardize the investigation and those who are currently cooperating with us.
Kinilala ng pulis ang shooter na si Natalie Ramna, na kilala rin bilang Samantha, na isang estudyante sa Abundant Life Christian School sa Madison, Wisconsin. Nananawagan ang kapulisan sa kung sino man ang may ideya sa pag-iisip ng suspect na naging dahilan kung bakit ito nagpasyang mamaril.
There are always signs of a school shooting before it occurred. Some of you have reached out about Rupnow's social media activity prior to yesterday's shooting. We're looking into her online activity. We're asking anyone who knew her or who may have insights into her feelings leading up to yesterday to please contact the Madison Area Crime Stoppers.
Ayon sa mga pag-aaral, bihirang maging suspect ng school at mass shootings ang kababaihan. Batay sa 2,610 na mga insidente mula noong 1966 na sinubaybayan ng K-12 school shooting database kung saan alam ang kasarian ng shooter, responsable lamang ang mga babaeng suspect sa 107. Ito ay nasa 3% lamang ng lahat ng US mass shootings. Sinusuri rin ng pulis ang online posts at maaaring manifesto ng shooter.
We know a document has been widely shared on social media. At this time, we cannot verify its authenticity. We have detectives working today to determine where this document originated and who actually shared it online. At this time, we cannot verify the document. We ask that you not share the document or spread any information that may be false. Our department will provide an update on this document when we can.
2 estudyante ang nasa critical na kalagayan. Ang ilang biktima naman ay nagtamo ng katamtamang injuries. Bernard Gonzaga para sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Nakumpleto na ng Ecuador ang ikalawang Debt for Nature swap nito. Inilunsad ni Ecuadorian President Daniel Noboa ang $460 million na halaga ng proyekto nila upang proteksyonan ang mga kabugubatan at wetlands sa Amazon Forest o Rainforest. Alamin natin ang mga detalye mula kay Fanway Zaragoza.
Sa pagbili ng $1.5 billion na discounted existing bonds nito, gamit ang mas murang pera, makukuha ng Ecuador ang halos kalahating bilyong dolyar na ipon sa loob ng 17 taong peryodo. Magagamit ito sa pag-i-invest sa konserbasyon ng terrestrial at freshwater ecosystems ng Amazon.
Hemos logrado intercambiar 1.527 millones de bonos globales, es decir, de deuda, por un nuevo préstamo de impacto de 1.000 millones con mejores condiciones. Con esta operación logramos generar más de 460 millones de dólares destinados exclusivamente a la protección de nuestra Amazonía. Esto incluye 23,5 millones anuales por los próximos 17 años y a la creación de un fondo de dotación que supera los 135 millones para el 2041, asegurando un financiamiento sostenible y de largo plazo.
Layo ng Amazon Bio Corridor Program na pagbutihin ang pagmamanage ng 4.6 million hectares o 11.37 million acres ng protektadong lupa habang pinoprotektahan ang karagdagang 1.8 million hectares ng kagubatan at wetlands.
La demanda que ha habido en este programa ha sido increíble, ha sido más de 4 veces de lo que verdaderamente pudimos colocar. Y eso es una buena señal, es una señal a futuro de que pueden haber vehículos como este ya a una escala un poco más grande y generar un mayor impacto.
Layo ng Debt for Nature swaps ang makabuo ng maayos at matagalang funding stream para sa mga proyektong pangkonserbasyon gamit ang pagpapakawala ng pera na gagamitin dapat ng pamahalaan upang magbayad ng utang. Inaasahang makakalikom ang deal ng $23.5 million kada taon sa loob ng 17 taon. $19 milyong ang diretsong mapupunta sa Amazon Bio Corridor Program at $4.5 million naman ang itatabi para sa endowment fund na kikita sa pagdaan ng panahon. Mayfarmez Zaragoza para sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Ang tinaguriang happiest place on earth ay humaharap ngayon sa isang class action lawsuit laban sa mga workers nito. Base sa Anaheim Law, mayroong nasa $233 million ang kailangan bayaran sa mga empleyado nito dahil sa kulang na pasahod ng naturang theme park. Ayon kay Michael Levitt, empleyado ng Disneyland, noong taong 2019 raw ay tinaas ng Anaheim ang minimum wage ng $15 kada oras. Subalit, ang nasabing taas pasahod ay hindi pa naipatutupad. Maraming Disney fans naman ang nadismaya at marami rin ang nakisimpatya sa mga empleyado nito. Matapos ang 5 taong debate sa korte, nakapagpasya na ang Disneyland na bayaran ang back pay na mahigit sa 50,000 underpaid Disneyland workers. Pinaniniwalaang ito na ang pinakamalaking kaso ng wage theft na naitala sa kabuuang kasaysayan ng USA.
Nasa gitna ng high-level talks ngayon ang Honda at Nissan ukol sa pagpapalago ng ugnayan sa pagitan ng dalawang major car companies. Sa harap ng lumalaking auto industry market ay nagpulong ang dalawang major Japanese brands ukol sa posibilidad na magsagawa ng isang merger upang tapatan ng Chinese automakers at Tesla's electric vehicle industry. Ayon sa mga eksperto, ang merger ng Honda at Nissan ay magkakahalaga ng $54 billion at posibleng makagawa ng halos 7.4 million na sasakyan kada taon. Ang naturang merger, kung sakaling matuloy, ay magre-resulta sa pangatlong pinakamalaking auto group pagdating sa produksyon at sales sa likod lamang ng Toyota at Volkswagen. Noong Marso, nagtatag na ang dalawang kumpanya ng isang strategic partnership ukol sa electric vehicle development, ngunit ang patuloy na problemang pinansyal ng Nissan ay nagiging malubha para sa kinabukasan ng kumpanya. Kamakailan lang ay inanunsyo ng Nissan ang kanilang $2.6 billion cost-saving program na nagtanggal ng halos 9,000 trabahador at binawasan ng halos 20% ang kanilang global production capacity.
At metong naman po dyan para sa ating mga kababayan sa Pampanga dahil good news, binuksan na kasi ang Wilcon Depot ang kanilang pang-100 branch para sa mga Kapampangan o mga taga-Pampanga. Ito ang ay patunay ng dedikasyon at tiwala na ibinigay ng bawat mamimili sa Wilcon Depot. Si Bart La Rosa po para sa balita.
Sa bawat pamilyang nangangarap magpatayo ng kanilang bahay, kasama palagi sa plano ang Wilcon Depot, ang katuwang ng bawat Pilipino sa pagbuo ng kanilang inaasam na tahanan. Sa bawat taon, patuloy nilang pinaunlad ang kanilang serbisyo. Dinagdagan ang kanilang mga produkto at pinalawak ang kanilang presensya sa buong bansa.
Our 100th store is right here in Lubao, Pampanga. We made it, you know? Let's continue to do it with Wilcon and mabuhay tayong lahat.
At bago magsara ang taong 2024, binuksan ng Wilcon Depot ang ika-100 branch nila para sa mga kababayan nating Kapampangan.
Ang Wilcon, hindi lang kami tindahan, no? We're also the venue for family that whenever they choose the products that they need, no, they band together. You know, ideas are built, no, dreams are built.
Really, the goal is, pagpasok mo, meron ka talagang makikita na swak para sa budget mo, swak para dun sa idea mo na ito ang envision ko sa cafe ko, or sa restaurant ko, or sa banyo ko. Gusto ko medyo maging maaliwalas. So, yun talaga yung namin, goals talaga namin.
Ang pagbubukas ng ika-100 na store ay patunay ng dedikasyon at tiwala na ibinigay ng bawat mamimili sa Wilcon Depot.
We're also very privileged to be part of the catalysts for the economy. We hope that, we generate more jobs, more economic activity, and we hope we can continue to expand and really cover the market and serve our customers.
Kasama rin sa misyon nila ang pagtataguyod ng mas matatag na bayan sa pamamagitan ng kanilang suportang makapagbigay ng hanap buhay. At sa loob ng mahigit 4 na dekada, sa ika-100 store na ito, walang duda, nakabuo ang Wilcon Depot ng isang matibay na pundasyon para sa maaasahang serbisyo, dekalidad na produkto para sa bawat pamilyang Pilipino.
Nagpapasalamat kami sa patuloy na pagtangkilik ninyo sa Wilcon. Rest assured that we'll continue to pursue our mission in helping every Filipino build, improve, and renovate their homes in a comfortable and sustainable way.
Congratulations, Wilcon, pang 100
Branches, ano pala ito?
Congratulations to Wilcon Depot! Maraming salamat, Wilcon Depot!
Mark De La Rosa, para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Sa uling pagkakataon ay lumapit ang ByteDance at TikTok sa US Supreme Court para umapela na kung maaari ay pansamantala munang ibinbi ng batas na magbabawal sa short video app sa Estados Unidos. Kapwa naghain ng dalawang firm ng isang emergency request sa mga justices para sa isang injunction kaugnay sa pagpapatigil ng TikTok ban. Nitong Abril, ipinasa ng US Congress ang batas na ipagbawal ang TikTok matapos mapagdesisyonan ng mga mambabatas na i-classify bilang isang national security threat ang social media platform. Git naman ng US Justice Department, isang Chinese company ang TikTok at kinokolekta umano nito ang data ng mga Amerikanong gumagamit ng social media platform. Nitong December 6 ay ibinasura ng US Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit in Washington ang apela ng TikTok na lumalabag daw sa free speech protection ang nasabing ban sa ilalim ng First Amendment ng US Constitution. Alinsunod kasi sa batas na ipinasa ng US Congress, kailangan ng ByteDance na i-divest ang TikTok sa o bago mag-January 19, 2025 o haharap ito sa ban.
Naglabas si James Gunn ng bagong official poster ng Superman sa X, ang dati pong Twitter. Dahil dito, maraming DC fans ang na-excite sa motion poster ni David Corenswet. Siya po kasi ang gaganap na bagong Man of Steel at makakasama niya sa pelikula ang super dog na si Crypto. Ayon kay Gunn, ipalalabas ang bagong Superman movie sa July 11, 2025.
Isinapubliko na po ang latest trailer ng new Karate Kid Legends nito lamang December 17. Ayon sa Cobra Kai Nation, iikot ang istorya kay Lee kung saan sasabak ito sa isang karate competition. Ang bidang karakter ay gaganapan ni Ben Wang, ang pinakabagong Karate Kid. Makikilala nito si Mr. Han bilang kanyang Kung Fu Master na gaganapan naman ni Jackie Chan na bumida sa Karate Kid remake noong 2010. Kasama si Daniel LaRusso na ginaganapan ni Ralph Macchio ang original Karate Kid. Nabanggit rin na ang thrilling movie ay sequel ng series na Cobra Kai at ng original Karate Kid trilogy nito noong 1984. Naikwento naman ng Karate Kid director na si Jonathan Entwistle ang family connections ni na Mr. Han at Mr. Miyagi na siyang magiging daan upang makilala ni Mr. Han si Daniel. Magkahalong nostalgia at excitement naman ang naramdaman ng mga fans matapos ma-release ang kapanapanabik na trailer. Inaasahang ipapalabas ang nasabing action movie sa susunod na taon.
Excited ako dyan, Nina.
Oo nga, nasabaybayan mo ba lahat yan?
Hindi actually. I was gonna say nga, when it first came out in 1984, gustong-gusto ko siya. Hindi ko na napanood yung revival sa kanya nitong kamakailan lang, ano. Pero nung nalaman ko sa balita mo na si Ralph Macchio, nandiyan din pala.
Naalala mo yung crush natin yan ng araw?
Akala ko pala may crush sa
Sorry, hindi ka nag-iisa, Rikki.
Diba?
Kompleto ako niyan. Pati yung The Next Karate Kid na si Hilary Swank, syempre pinanood ko din yan.
Lahat talaga sinubaybayan mo.
Syempre girl power kaya yun. Lahat, pati yung kay Jaden Smith, diba? Nakakatuwa naman kasi talaga. Tsaka very wholesome siya, diba? Pampamilya.
Yes.
Kaya nakakatuwang subaybayan.
Pero talaga, ang tumatak sa puso at isipan ko ay yung original.
Kala ko ay si Ralph Macchio.
Dahil nga rin kay Ralph Macchio.
Diba? Talaga naman. Si Direk, tignan mo, agree eh.
Oh, diba? Pati si Direk nagbabulash ngayon, no?
In fact, sa Cobra Kai, ang cute pa din niya, ha? I would say he's aged really well over the years.
Sabi nga nila, hindi daw siya tumatanda.
Yun pa,
diba? So, tignan nga natin.
Tayo lang naman din.
Abangan natin yan. Papanoorin ko dahil kay Ralph Macchio. Kaya tama rin yung ating balita. Talaga maraming fans ang naging sentimental.
Oo, no. Kasama na tayong dalawa dyan. Tatlo, actually.
Ayan, si Direk, excited na. Pero mas excited siya dahil sa ngayon po ay magpapaalam na kami. Subalit tandaan, mula Lunes hanggang Biyernes, narito kami ni Nina para maghatid ng balita saan mang dako ng mundo. Muli ako po si Rikki Mathay.
Ako si Nina Rikki, Alagao, Flores. Ito po ang Mata ng Agila International. Para naman po sa iba pang mga balitang nangyari rin sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, punta po tayo kay Alma Angeles para sa Mata ng Agila World News. Take it away, Alma.
Thank you, Nina and Rikki. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles for Net 25 World News. On tonight's headlines.
Luigi Mangione, the defendant, is charged with 1 count of murder in the first degree.
Tonight, new charges for the man accused of killing a United Health executive on a Manhattan street. The alleged CEO killer now faces counts of murder as an act of terrorism.
This was a frightening, well-planned, targeted murder that was intended to cause shock and attention and intimidation.
Plus, the strong message from New York City law enforcement.
There is no heroism in what Mangione did.
In the Pacific, strong aftershocks continue to rattle Vanuatu. Rescuers are in a race against time to find survivors among the ruins of collapsed buildings in the capital city.
We've definitely been overwhelmed. In the first few hours, it was very clear this was a major incident.
And an emotional homecoming. A Filipina who was previously sentenced to death for drug trafficking in Indonesia has returned home after years of negotiations and a last-minute reprieve from execution in 2015. She arrived in the Philippines early this Wednesday morning. And the news starts now. First, in our news tonight, the Bureau of Corrections has shared that Mary Jane Veloso will be placed under a 5-day quarantine. And an emotional homecoming. A Filipina who was previously sentenced to death for drug trafficking in Indonesia has returned home after years of negotiations and a last-minute reprieve from execution in 2015. Speaking to reporters in Jakarta before her departure, the 39-year-old mother of two said she's ready for a fresh start in her home country.
Saya ingin berterima kasih pertama kepada yang terhormat Bapak Presiden Prabowo Subianto.
Tuas junior kepada Presiden kita Bapak Prabowo.
Aku tidak bisa ngomong banyak lagi. Pokoknya saya bahagia banget. Dan selama saya di Indonesia semua baik. Petugasnya baik, sesama WPP-nya baik, seluruhnya baik. Mereka mengusahakan supaya saya bisa pulang. Jadi yang sedih juga. Tapi aku harus pulang karena saya punya keluarga di sana yang menunggu, anak-anak saya menunggu. Dan saya mau merayakan Natal di sana bersama keluarga.
We will abide with the practical arrangement that we signed 2 weeks ago, or what was it, last week, with our Deputy Minister for Justice. We will comply. Philippines is known to be championing the rule of law. So to the people of Indonesia, you are true friends of the Philippines.
Veloso was arrested in Yogyakarta in 2010 after authorities found 2.6 kilograms of heroin hidden in a suitcase. She maintained she was an unwitting drug mule, but her conviction led to a death sentence. Her return comes just days after the repatriation of the last 5 members of the Bali 9 drug ring to Australia. Veloso landed in Manila under tight security and was immediately taken to a women's prison facility. Her family and supporters waiting outside the terminal couldn't greet upon her arrival, but later prison officials allowed her family to meet her inside the compound. In an emotional reunion, Veloso's sons ran to hug her tightly. This month, Indonesia and the Philippines struck a deal to transfer Veloso under the condition that her prisoner status and sentence would be respected. Justice Undersecretary Raul Vasquez confirmed that clemency is a possibility, saying it's definitely on the table. Ultimately, any decision rests with Philippine President Marcos Jr. Indonesia has also assured it will honor whatever decision the Philippines makes regarding Veloso's fate.
Ang pinaka-importante ho ay ito ay pagpapakita ng malalim, matibay at napakatagal ng relasyon ng Pilipinas at ang Indonesia para ang isang kababayan natin na hatulan ng pagkabitay dati ay bumaba na naging life imprisonment doon until eventually linipat sa atin. At ang pagkalipat nito, pagkalipat siya ay subjected na at itatrato siya bilang ordinary person deprived of liberty dito sa Pilipinas ayon sa ating batas, ayon sa ating regulasyon at ating patakaran.
Tropical Depression Caribbean is expected to weaken into a remnant low within 24 hours, but it still brings risk of flooding and lahar flows near Canlaon volcano.
Pinapaalala nga natin pinakamalapit itong remnant low sa Canlaon, Mount Canlaon by Friday, Saturday. So kailangan doble ingat sa mga nakatira sa mga area na yon, sa mga banta na mga malalakas na ulan at pwedeng mag-cause rin nga ito ng lahar.
Pagasa weather specialist Veronica Torres says the system is expected to pass near Mount Canlaon by Friday, prompting a warning for residents in the area to take extra precautions. Caribbean's remnants are forecast to bring rain across much of Visayas and Mindanao, including areas near the Sulu Sea and Palawan. As of 10 a.m., the system was 195 kilometers east of Hinatuan, Surigao del Sur, packing maximum sustained winds of 45 kilometers per hour and gusts of up to 55 kilometers per hour. Tropical cyclone wind signal number 1 remains in effect in Surigao del Sur, and residents near Canlaon and affected areas are urged to remain vigilant. An earthquake of magnitude 7.4 struck Vanuatu's capital, Port Vila, damaging buildings and cars. Now, strong aftershocks rocking Vanuatu, where rescuers are racing against time to find survivors trapped in collapsed buildings in the nation's capital. Help is on the way. Australia is sending experts and emergency aid with plane loads expected to arrive.
I wanted to let you know that in the coming hours, a RAF C-17 will depart RAF Base Amberley directly to Port Vila with an urban search and rescue team from Queensland Fire and Rescue. A RAF C-130 will depart from Fairbairn with additional urban search and rescue personnel from Fire and Rescue New South Wales, the Australian Federal Police and a DFAT crisis response team. And a flight will depart from Darwin with an Australian medical assistance team deployed through the National Critical Care and Trauma Response Centre. These crews are going in to assist with the most pressing needs. We are family and we will be there for them.
Several aftershocks have rocked the region, with one reaching a magnitude of 6.1. The country's caretaker Prime Minister Charlotte Salway announced a state of emergency and a 7-day curfew in the worst affected areas. The international community has responded with assistance. The U.S. Agency for International Development is sending a team, and Australia is deploying a 64-person disaster response team to help with search and rescue operations. France also sent a military helicopter with satellite communications and engineers to aid in the response. Port Vila's International Airport will be closed for 72 hours to allow emergency and medical flight. The UN estimates that around 116,000 people, about a third of the country's population, have been affected by the earthquake.
So, yesterday it was a big earthquake, and that was really violent and scary. And so, in terms of building, they are buildings that have been completely damaged. a building particularly that used to accommodate the French, the New Zealand, the British, and the US embassies have partially collapsed and is completely unusable. Another building in town also completely collapsed, and there are people that have been killed during the collapse, and there are still people who have been said blocked inside. So it will rise. So I don't know. What score it will reach, if I can say, but that's definitively is not finished.
In the wake of the earthquake, the country's health system is struggling to cope with the casualties, and hospitals are overwhelmed. More than 200 people have been injured, with triage tents set up outside Port Vilas Hospital to manage the surge of patients.
There are 14 confirmed dead. That number is expected to climb, and we have over 200 casualties that have gone through the Avila Central Hospital and the Vanuatu Mobile Force Barracks Hospital so far. We've definitely been overwhelmed. In the first few hours, it was very clear this was a major incident.
Although the Shepherd Islands in Vanuatu Shefa province experienced some impact from landslides, life is returning to normal there much quicker than in the capital. Police have reported that 3 people are still communicating with rescuers beneath the rubble of a collapsed building, and 2 others have been rescued. The situation remains dire as aftershocks continue to rattle the island. Meanwhile, the death toll from Cyclone Chido's rampage through the French overseas territory of Mayotte remained unclear today, with shanty towns that were home to undocumented migrants flattened and many areas still inaccessible. Local officials and health workers have said hundreds or even thousands could be dead.
After a devastating cyclone at the weekend, authorities in Mayotte were racing on Tuesday to stop hunger, disease and lawlessness from spreading. That says Mozambique also reported dozens of deaths from the storm. In Mayotte, many parts of the islands remain inaccessible, and some victims have been buried before their death could be officially counted. That means it could take several days to fully assess the damage. Hundreds or even thousands are feared dead, according to French authorities. On Tuesday, 20 metric tons of food and water were due to arrive by air and sea. The French government said it expects 50% of water supplies to be restored within 48 hours and 95% within the week. A curfew will also go into effect from Tuesday night between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. local time, France's Interior Ministry said. In Mozambique, drone footage showed raised thatched roof houses near the beach. That's in Cabo Delgado province, an area already experiencing a humanitarian crisis due to a militant insurgency. Mozambican officials say dozens have died. Deaths have also been reported in Malawi. Mayotte, which is significantly poorer than the rest of France, has been grappling with gang violence and social unrest for decades. Many residents are angry at illegal immigration and inflation. The disaster is now sparking a political debate about how France handles its overseas territories. French President Emmanuel Macron is due to visit the islands in the coming days.
South Korea's Foreign Minister Cho Tae-yul announced plans to prepare for U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's potential reopening of nuclear talks with North Korea, acknowledging that Seoul's recent political turmoil has strained ties with Trump's team. At a joint press conference, Cho and Finance Minister Choi Sang-mok sought to reassure allies and stabilize markets following President Yoon Suk-yeol's December 3 martial law attempt, which triggered the nation's biggest political crisis in decades.
우리 정부는 굳건한 한미 동맹을 바탕으로 빈틈없는 안보 태세를 확립하고 있습니다. 한반도 정세를 안정적으로 관리해 나가면서 북한이 도발을 감행할 경우에는 단호하게 대응할 수 있도록 만반의 대비 태세를 유지할 것입니다. 북핵 문제에 대해서도 미국이 신행정부 출범 이전에 우리 대응 구상과 로드맵을 마련하여 북미 협상 가능성에 선제적으로 대비해 나가겠습니다.
Cho revealed that Seoul had built strong communication channels with Trump's campaign, but admitted the martial law controversy disrupted progress. He highlighted Trump's appointment of his former intelligence chief as a North Korean envoy, interpreting it as a signal of Trump's intent to prioritize the nuclear issue. Meanwhile, uncertainty looms as Yoon faces impeachment, leaving him unable to engage Trump ahead of his January 20 inauguration. U.S. officials, including Jake Sullivan, criticized Yoon's martial law decision, likening it to the January 6 Capitol attack. Finance Minister assured that South Korea would deploy all resources to manage economic volatility amidst the crisis.
그러나 대내 불확실성에 따른 시장 변동과 경제 심리 위축 가능성이 여전한 만큼 정부는 경계를 늦추지 않고 민관의 모든 역량을 결집하여 경제를 최대 안정적으로 관리해 나갈 것입니다.
Meanwhile, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un paid tribute to his father Kim Jong-il and grandfather Kim Il-sung on Tuesday, visiting the Kumsusan Palace of the Sun on the 13th anniversary of Kim Jong-il's death. Accompanied by senior party and government officials, including Premier Tim Hok-hun and Choi Rong-ye, Kim laid a floral basket in his name before the statues of his father and grandfather and bowed in respect. Meanwhile, North Korea has kept a low profile regarding South Korea's political turmoil, especially following President Yoon Suk-yeol's brief attempt at martial law earlier this month. State media has reported on the situation, including Yoon's impeachment and protests, but has offered little commentary. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is addressing internal turmoil within his ruling Liberal Party after the unexpected resignation of Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland. Speaking at the Liberals' National Caucus Party on Tuesday, Trudeau likened the situation to family holiday squabbles.
It's hard not to feel happy when we're like this, among Liberals, among family, because that's what we really are, a big family. Now, like most families, sometimes we have fights around the holidays. But of course, like most families, we find our way through it. We were there for Canadians through the Spanish flu, the Great Depression, 2 world wars, the Cold War. We've seen tough times before, and we pulled through. Because when we pull together, when Canadians pull together, nothing, and I mean nothing, can stop us.
Freeland stepped down on Monday after rejecting Trudeau's offer of a lesser cabinet position. She warned that his plans to increase spending could weaken Canada's ability to cope with tariffs that U.S. President-elect Donald Trump is threatening to impose. Her resignation just weeks before a new U.S. administration takes office has left Trudeau navigating one of his toughest challenges since taking power in 2015. Freeland, who also served as Deputy Prime Minister, had been a key player in managing Canada-U.S. relations and uniting provincial leaders on trade issues. The political fallout has been intense, with some Liberal MPs calling for Trudeau to step down. The party has been lagging behind the Conservatives in polls, with an election looming by October 2025. While Trudeau has ruled out resigning for now, analysts say the pressure could lead to unpredictable outcomes. Russia says it has detained an Uzbek citizen accused of planting the bomb that killed General Igor Kirillov. Investigators believe the suspect acted on orders from Ukraine's security service. Take a look.
Следователями Главного следственного управления Следственного комитета России во взаимодействии с ФСБ и МВД России по подозрению в совершении теракта, в результате которого погиб Игорь Кириллов и его помощник Илья Поликарпов, задержан гражданин Республики Узбекистан 1995 года рождения. Задержанный доставлен к следователю, с ним проводятся следственные действия. В ходе допроса он пояснил, что был завербован украинскими спецслужбами. По их заданию он прибыл в Москву и получил самодельное взрывное устройство. Он разместил его на электросамокате, который припарковал у подъезда жилого дома, где проживал Игорь Кириллов.
Ukraine assassinated a top Russian general it accused of chemical weapons crimes in Moscow on Tuesday morning. A source from Ukraine's SBU has confirmed the intelligence service was responsible. It marks the most high-profile killing of its kind. Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov, who was chief of Russia's nuclear, biological and chemical protection troops, was killed outside an apartment building when a bomb hidden in an electric scooter went off. That's according to Russia's investigative committee, which investigates serious crimes, adding that his assistant also died in the blast. A local resident was near the explosion.
At first we thought that cement might have been unloaded or something similar, but the blast was so loud that it did not seem like construction works. It was very scary.
Kirillov is the most senior Russian military officer to be assassinated inside Russia by Ukraine. Russia's state RIA news agency cited former President Dmitry Medvedev, saying Ukraine now faces imminent revenge. Investigators said they had opened a criminal case into the murder of 2 servicemen. Law enforcement sources told Russian media a terrorism case was likely to be opened.
And also tonight, new charges for the man accused of killing a United Health executive on a Manhattan street. The alleged CEO killer now faces counts of murder as an act of terrorism. Take a look.
Luigi Mangione, the defendant, is charged with 1 count of murder in the first degree and 2 counts of murder in the second degree, including 1 count of murder in the second degree as an act of terrorism.
New York prosecutors slapped charges on Luigi Mangione of first-degree murder and murder as a crime of terrorism on Tuesday. He's the man accused of slaying United Health Group executive Brian Thompson earlier this month. In a press briefing, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg accused Mangione of trying to sow terror. Mangione was alleged to have gunned down Thompson outside a Manhattan hotel on a busy New York street.
This was a frightening, well-planned, targeted murder that was intended to cause shock and attention and intimidation.
The indictment accused Mangione of murdering Thompson with the intent to influence the policy of a unit of government by intimidation or coercion. But in some circles, Mangione has been celebrated. Street art in Seattle depicts Nintendo video game character Luigi, a reference to Mangione, and a crossed-out United Health logo. Americans pay more for healthcare than any other country. Government data shows spending on insurance premiums, out-of-pocket co-payments, and other services has been on the rise in recent years. The death of a top executive of a health insurer lit a tinderbox of anger from those struggling to receive and pay for medical care. Over 1,000 donations have poured into an online fundraiser for Mangione's legal defense. New York Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch spoke against rationalizing Mangione's alleged actions.
There is no heroism in what Mangione did. This was a senseless act of violence. It was a cold and calculated crime that stole a life and put New Yorkers at risk. We don't celebrate murders, and we don't lionize the killing of anyone. And any attempt to rationalize this is vile, reckless, and offensive to our deeply held principles of justice.
Mangione suffered from chronic back pain that affected his daily life, according to friends and social media posts. It is unclear, though, whether his own health played a role in the shooting. United Health Group said last week Mangione was not one of the insurer's customers. If convicted on all 11 counts, 26-year-old Mangione would face a mandatory sentence of life in prison without parole.
And the news continues here on Net 25. We'll be right back.
Dahil walang hinto ang balita.
Financial straits.
Mata ng Agila Weekend tuwing Sabado, alas 4 ng hapon. Ito ang Net 25. Matatag, matapag, matapak.
Let's net together sa Net 25. Sa Net 25.
And on tonight's ASEAN News, we uncover a fascinating chapter in Filipino history that goes beyond the familial colonial narrative. A new book, The Roots, is shining a spotlight on the deep cultural ties between the Philippines and the Nusantara region, maritime Southeast Asia, and it's sparking meaningful conversations about identity and shared heritage. Take a look. For many Filipinos, history is often framed by the Spanish colonial era. But the roots takes us further back, exploring our connection to the Malay world of Nusantara, an expansive network of cultures and communities across maritime Southeast Asia. I spoke with Her Royal Highness Tengku Sharifa Marieta Noraisha Mindalano Adam, a passionate advocate for preserving this shared heritage.
Could you share with us the essence of the roots and how it portrays the Philippines as part of Nusantara?
Okay, you know, this book, The Roots, corrects the historical inaccuracies of pre-colonial Mindanao. Especially, kinokorek niya yung The Lost Kingdom ng Maharaja Tabunaway. Kung matatandaan natin, sabi nga po nila, all the victors are the writers. Di po ba? So, ibig sabihin kung sino po yung nasa posisyon, sino yung may power, at kung sino yung may connection, sila yung pwedeng sumulat. Kung ano yung gusto nilang isusulat.
Yes.
Diba? So, ngayon, dito po sa The Roots, pinapakita po nito at ibinabahagi namin sa ating mga kababayan, especially po sa ating mga Mindanaoans, no? Na nagka-claim that they came from the roots of the Arab missionaries. They said that the Maharaja Tabunaway was not a datu, and talagang inerase po siya sa history.
This book highlights the pivotal role of ancient sultanates such as the Kesultanan Melayu Maharaja Tabunaway in shaping these regional connections. Now, these kingdoms were at the heart of trade, cultural exchange, and the spread of ideas.
What inspired you to delve into the historical and cultural connections between the Philippines and the larger Nusantara region? And also, as a descendant of the royal lineage and a cultural advocate, how do you personally relate to this historical narrative presented in your book?
Okay, unang-una po, for centuries, the descendants of Maharaja Tabunaway have suffered from humiliation, suffered from rejection, and lived under the shadow of those pseudo-historians na nagmamarunong, na kumbaga pa sila yung may alam, sila yung may kakayahan para isulat kung ano yung gusto nilang isulat. At hindi po nila nakalimutan, hindi nila naisip at nakalimutan nila na yung mga missionaries na dumating dito sa atin before, centuries pa, ay meron silang record. So yung ating mga historians, especially po sa Mindanao, na kung saan may mga foreigners na pumunta doon, maybe I can mention one, Najib Salibe, Dr. Najib Salibe, na nagkaroon siya ng connection sa mga dato at mga tao sa Mindanao at pinakinggan yung mga narratives nila, yung mga oral narratives nila na wala namang basis. Sa likod ng mga kasaysayan o sa mga kasinungalingan na ibinabahagi po ng ating mga kababayan, especially po yung mga claiming royals with masasabi nating questionable ancestry. Di po ba?
This book also offers a fresh perspective that complements and sometimes challenges mainstream Philippine historical narratives. It showcases the enduring cultural links that connect the Philippines to its Southeast Asian neighbors.
Malaysia.
Malaysia also?
Yes, in Malaysia.
Okay.
Oo, kasi kung ano po yung connection natin, no? We are talking about Malay world and Nusantara. Di po ba? So ano yung connection ng Pilipinas sa Nusantara or the Malay world? Kasi po, unang-una, yung ating mga ninuno na dumating dito centuries pa, no? Kasi meron tayo Srivijayan Empire. Meron tayong Majapahit Empire. Di po ba? So, saan nanggaling itong mga empire na ito? Sila po yung unang-unang nag-roll dito sa Mindanao, especially the Majapahit. Kaya po kami sa Kisultanan Melayu, Maharaja Tabunaway, Johor Mindanao, Darussalam, we are maintaining the title of Maharani and Maharaja. It's because we came from Majapahit Empire. So kailangan natin ipagmalaki kung saan tayo nanggaling. Kailangan natin ipagmalaki at ipagyabang sa buong mundo that we came from one race, which is Malay.
Understanding these ties isn't just about history, it's about fostering collaboration and unity across ASEAN or Southeast Asia.
What lessons can we draw from this shared history to foster greater unity and collaboration in Southeast Asia? Ayan na, ASEAN na tayo.
ASEAN na tayo.
ASEAN na.
Alam mo ma'am, napaka-importante at napakaganda po ng tanong ninyo kasi ang pinaka-importante po natin is doon tayo sa katotohanan. Huwag ho tayo sa kasinungalingan. Importante po talaga yon. Yun ang pinaka-lesson po natin dito mga kababayan ko. Lalo na po yung ating mga kabangsa Melayu dyan na nanonood ngayon sa atin, nakikinig sa atin. Wala pong maiiwan. Wala po akong iniwan dito sa The Roots. Kaya kailangan po natin itong tangkilikin. Kung sino man po yung ating mga descendants dyan, especially the Maharaja Tabunaway, Descendants Council of the Philippines, Raja Mamalu, Raja Putuan, Raja Sirungan, lahat po kayo dapat kumuha nito nang sa ganun. Alam nyo kung sino kayo. Unang-una po gusto kong batiin yung Raja nito, Buayan, no? Kidatuan Buayan, Raja Sirungan, of course, Raja nito Putuan, Raja Mamalu, descendants na kung saan sila po ay nanonood ngayon. And of course, our core leaders in Diraja Manila na kung saan kasama ko sila ngayon, si Laksamana, Diraja, and sa lahat po ng ating mga traditional leaders. Ako po ay nagpupugay po sa inyong lahat at maraming salamat po sa naniniwala po sa amin at inaanyayahan ko po kayo. Lahat po tayo ay magkakapatid, magkakapamilya, magkakarelatives.
The Roots challenges us to look beyond conventional narratives, encouraging a deeper appreciation of our shared past and inspiring unity across ASEAN. And that's it for tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on Net 25, I'm Alma Angeles. Thank you for joining us. Good night.